Hello everyone, my name is Carolina and I'm an undergraduate researcher in Bio's lab at Boston College. I'm also part of the Center for Contemporary Catalysis and currently I'm participating in its REU program, a summer program that exposes undergraduates to research and science communication experience. I'm here today with Stephanie Johnson, a first-year graduate student at Bio's lab. So Stephanie, can you please introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So as Carolina said, my name is Stephanie. I'm a first-year graduate student in the Buyers Group. I originally went to St. Lawrence University for my undergraduate. And from there, I actually worked as a chemist at Perkin-Elmer in their reagent support division. So I was synthesizing different materials to support their bioinformatics line of products. So for like capillary gel, electrophoresis, and other instruments. And then I decided it was time to come back to school, and now here I am, 1 year into my graduate career.
Wow, so nice and interesting. Yeah. So I just have like 5 questions for you, and the first one is, I think you talked about a little bit already, but what sparked your interest in pursuing a career in chemistry?
Oh, okay. So I think my career or my interest in chemistry really started in high school. So I had a really excellent chemistry teacher in high school who was really hands-on with all the experiments. And do you know the classic demo of elephant's toothpaste?
Yeah,
right. So you take hydrogen peroxide and you add soap, and you decompose the hydrogen peroxide into water and hydrogen gas. I balanced that correctly in my mind. And the soap bubbles catch the gas, and it makes a huge column, right? So that was super exciting. Chemistry to see. And then from there, I actually helped do some science experiments with like the younger students in school. So that really like pushed me, like once I got to college, I was like, yeah, let's continue this. So I did general chemistry, and I pushed my way through organic chemistry. I was like, I think I can make it as a chemistry major once I got past especially organic chemistry. And here I am today.
Wow, yeah. So it's nice that you got to like your teacher. It sounds like your teacher really like how do I say it? Like awaken that interest for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
In high school, right? That was in high school?
Yeah, it was definitely people around me who were really interested in science who inspired me to continue on in science. I was also one of the first people in my family. My older sister was the first in our family to go to college, and then me. So it was really different having someone go to school in our family and like become a scientist, right? There's a lot of pride there. So that really also drove me to come to go to undergrad and pursue a career.
Okay. Yeah. Now that you're in graduate school, let's talk a little bit about what is it like being a first-year graduate student. What are the challenges to being like a graduate student? How can you overcome them? And yeah, just a little bit about your current status right now. And how can you overcome
it? So first year I've heard is definitely one of the hardest years. I think I can attest to that. It's very challenging, especially given the weirdness of the current situation. We had virtual classes for our classes, but we were also TAing in person and also doing research in person, right? So there's this weird mixed media, right? Form of learning. So I could speak specifically for Boston College. How our program works is that as a first year, you come in, and in the first semester, you're probably at your busiest because you are thrown right into TAing. So first year students typically TA for the lab classes. So general chemistry for most first years, I actually TA'd the organic chemistry lab. So you're, as a TA, you are the professor of that lab. You are teaching the students and also doing all the grading and all of that. So that's one responsibility that eats up a lot of time. I do think TAing is awesome because you get to foster that love of chemistry in the students as well. And additionally, you also get to like reinforce what you already know. So there were some things that I was like, oh, like I know I learned this, but I don't think I knew it until I taught it, right? You have that experience. So I found TAing to be very, it was like one of the fun parts of this. Your other responsibilities in your first semester as a graduate student are to take classes. So here at Boston College, we have a communications class where you learn how to write like a scientist, because it's not science if it's not communicated, right? And then you also have like your like actual chemistry courses. So you can take like biochemistry, physical chemistry. Everyone has to take a mechanistic organic chemistry. So you have this mix of different courses you have to take. And in addition, in your first semester, you're also interviewing different professors, and they're kind of interviewing you, right, to see if you're a fit for their lab.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So some universities do rotations, and in universities that do rotations, you would spend some time in different professors' research labs, like a couple weeks to like maybe a month or two, depending on what institution you're at, and you would rotate through all the different labs before you'd settled on one. But here, we don't do that. Instead, we kind of get right to research, because that can take like up to like 2 years of your graduate career.
So we kind of like cut right to it.
So we kind of like cut right to it. We talk to all the professors. If there's a professor who you're really interested in, you keep going to all of their meetings and their group meetings. You like tour the lab and everything. And then in December, you give your top choices, and then the professors can accept or reject you, depending on how many spaces they have available. Right? They might not have funding for all students.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like the structure of the first year, of the first semester. And then from the second semester, it's probably the craziest time as a student, because you have TAing classes and research at that point. So
wow, a lot of
yeah, a lot of time commitments, right? It kind of dies down from there, because as you progress, you're expected to teach less, and you also don't have any courses. So I'm actually all done with courses.
Okay.
So I will be devoting my time to research and TAing, and then eventually only to research as I progress. But definitely the biggest challenge is managing all that time, like all these different time commitments. I on my phone, I have like a calendar with like alarms going off like pretty much once an hour. Like, you need to be here at this time.
Yeah.
Or you need to get this grading done for this course. Like, so I think that's really the first 2 semesters really feel like a sprint, even though everyone keeps saying like grad school is a marathon, right? It's 5 years. You have 5 years to do enough research to show that you know you're competent, like you've like you're competent as a chemist, right? Those first semester, it's pretty hectic.
And I had a question. Is TA a requirement?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So the way that at least BC does it, I'm not entirely sure. I know I have friends who've never had to TA at their institutions, but at BC, it depends on your funding status.
Okay.
So as you're coming in first semester, you're not part of a group. TAing is how your education is funded.
Okay.
So you get paid to teach, and if you came in with a grant though, like say you were independently funded because you like got the NSF GRFP, that's a grant that you can apply to as an undergrad or a grad student, you would have that money already, so you wouldn't need to worry about it. Or say you came in and like it's possible that a professor recruited you to their lab, and in that situation they may or may not, like you might have an agreement that they'll fund you and you won't have the TA.
Okay.
And as I said, like different professors have different ways of handling TAing, right? So some professors might require their 5th year students to TA, or might like need them to, while other professors will say, no, we'd rather just have like the 1st and 2nd years TA, and then I have enough funding to cover the older students.
Okay.
So it's very individual, I think.
Yeah, very different. for for different institutions, I guess. Yeah, you were talking about time management, and that's definitely something that I've learned from being part of this research group. You need to definitely know how to organize your time and organize yourself, and obviously be very disciplined as well with your time and your work. So yeah, I completely agree with you. From my perspective as an undergraduate, as a new undergraduate, trying to gain some experience into this field. Yeah. So great. That was great. The next question that I have for you is how does a typical day look for you right now? And if you could describe what your research project is and what has been accomplished and what have you done to reach your goal.
Okay. So my research project, it kind of has two different branches, but all moving towards the same goal. So the project is that we have this system to polymerize polylactic acid. So to make polylactic acid. So polylactic acid is a polymer that you've probably encountered. It's in compostable utensils, right? So like anytime you see like a spoon that's like, oh, this is made from biodegradable or compostable material, like that's probably polylactic acid. It's also used in 3D printing as the filament, and it's also used in biomedical applications too, like screws. So it's a very commonly encountered polymer. It's actually one of the most common biodegradable polymers. So it does take industrial settings really to effectively degrade it. But anyway, so we have this catalyst that's actually switchable for polylactic acid for lactide polymerization. So if you have the catalyst in one state, it'll synthesize, it'll polymerize lactide and make polylactic acid. If the catalyst is in a different state, it can actually, it'll turn off for the lactide polymerization, but it can actually polymerize other things. So you can make these kind of sophisticated materials using the system. But what my project is that if you can imagine that polymers are these long molecules, right? And in a certain plastic, right, there's polymers of all different chain lengths. They're for the most part, they're the same depending on how you polymerize, but like there can be a distribution of different chain lengths there. And the shape of this distribution can actually affect the physical properties. So if you have a polymer that's made up of a lot of long chains, and then there will be some chains of other length there, but it's mostly those long chains, that'll make it a stronger material, like a bigger, like better tensile strength, like better impact resistance, like that kind of thing. If you have a polymer that's mostly lower molecular weight chains, so like these shorter chains, you'll end up with a polymer that's more flowy, right? It's better, it's more malleable, even more ductile, less viscous, right? It can be better melted down.
More flexible, maybe?
Yeah, it's not really entirely known.
Okay.
It's just, it's not really known to academics. It's known in industry because they know that they want certain distributions of these long and short chains of the polymers that they're making. But it's kind of industry's secret with how they specifically want these distributions to look like.
Okay.
Of these long and short chains. So my project is that we know, like most of the time we make these the specific mixture of these chain lengths by just making polymers of like length A, length B, length C, and then combining them in the right ratio to get the certain distribution. There have been other techniques to try to like make those certain chain lengths while you're synthesizing the polymer, right? So it's less wasteful if you have to not make plastic A, B, C, and then mix
exactly.
However, those methods have their limitations. They're not really used industrially yet. But our method is we're going to use our switchable system to try and see if we can turn the catalyst on and off and see if we can get the patterns of long and short chains this way, right?
Exactly.
And one way I'm doing that is by using a flow reactor, which people already do to do this sort of chemistry. As I mentioned, people have been working on this. And the other way I'm doing it is in a electrochemical cell. So just like in a batch, I can make a bunch of polymer in like a container just by turning the catalyst off and on. So that's what I've been working in. As for what my day specifically looks like, it kind of depends on what the chemistry I'm doing that day is. So it's pretty variable. So typically when I come in the morning, I want to set up anything that I'm doing that day. So if I'm planning I have to constantly synthesize more catalyst. The catalyst we work with is air sensitive, so I have to have my solvents dried. So if I'm drying any solvent, I want that set up so things with long reaction times can go during the I can be ready to work on them later in the afternoon.
Exactly.
And then while things are reacting, I typically will read papers from journals. So part of being a scientist is constantly keeping yourself updated on the literature. So there are for people working in our field on similar projects, I'm checking their website. I have alerts for whenever they publish anything. And also, as a member of the buyers group, we have our own group responsibilities. So everyone has a job and multiple jobs, really, in the group, instruments that they're responsible for maintaining. Chemicals need to be ordered, glassware that's broken needs to be fixed, that kind of thing. So I'll work on those projects, or, for example, everyone needs to share their research with the groups to keep group members updated on their research. So working on your presentations for those kinds of things as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I guess I think one misconception that I had of doing research, because I had never done research in chemistry or a science. I had done research in psychology, and it's very different. And I think it took me time to get used to when you're in the lab, you don't need to be constantly doing experiments. You can be in the lab reading. You can be in the lab, just making sure you are all caught up with new literature and all that, and just work on presentations, analyzing your data as you go. It's very important to do as well.
Otherwise you get behind.
Exactly. And that's something that at first was difficult, I think, just to try to sit down and, okay, I finished this experiment and let me analyze this data in order to know what I need to do next and all that. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. But thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. Yeah. My next question is, what would be the most valuable advice that you would give to someone that is just starting graduate school?
Oh, most valuable advice. I think I've already said this, but it doesn't feel like it, but it is a marathon. You're in it for the long run. I know I've only been really solidly doing research for a few months now. Because the semester ended in May, and up till then we had COVID restrictions, so my time in lab was limited to at most 4 days a week, but mostly 2 or 3 days a week during that time. Those early days, it was a frenzy of okay, I only have so much time,
Exactly.
I have to do this. And a lot of things weren't working because that's just the nature of research, right? Most of the things you do aren't working. You're making progress towards something that will work. So I guess that's also part of it. So take your time. I know there's a big push to be staying in the lab till something works, till you have that data that looks good, that kind of thing. You'll get there as long as you're working diligently and constantly at it. You don't have to expect great, amazing results right away.
Exactly.
Otherwise you wouldn't need to continue to work at it, right? And don't be afraid of failure, I guess, is the other thing.
Wow, that's very important. Yeah,
there's a lot of failure. Don't be discouraged. Things will work out. If things don't work out, like switch mindsets. Like there's other projects in our lab, for example. Some of our older graduate students are leaving, and I'm learning some of their chemistry right now so that I can continue on in their footsteps later. So if there's ever a time where I'm frustrated and stymied by the work I'm currently doing, it's possible that I can kind of pivot a little bit and think about something else, give your brain time to process things and then return to what you're doing.
Yeah, well, that was such a great advice and something that I definitely you need to learn along the way.
Yeah, and I'm definitely still learning this stuff too.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and with COVID, I imagine it was like very stressful. Like when you compare it to like before the pandemic. I mean, as you said, you had like less time in the lab and all that. So yeah, I would imagine it was like very stressful for current like graduate students or researchers to not be able to spend that like so much time in the lab and all that.
Yeah, I mean, just anecdotally, there was a huge mood shift in our lab.
Okay.
I don't think you would have noticed this because I think it happened right before you joined us.
Okay.
But during the pandemic, people weren't, we had shift schedules because we couldn't have everyone in the lab because we were operating at lower capacity.
Okay.
So people were more isolated because they weren't seeing each other as often. And, people in lab are friends right outside of lab too. So that isolation and then kind of the world events, there was definitely kind of decreased morale. And then it was kind of interesting when we went back to working full time. Definitely, I think having a regular schedule, being less isolated, being able to work consistently on your project and get results. I think that really raised everyone's morale, and everyone seems much more positive now. So.
Yeah, I guess because it's a team, it's a family, it's the importance of like just building on each other and learning from each other, and research is something that I am learning now. You do as a group. It's a group endeavor, like it's a journey, and yeah, for me that was very important. So yeah, the last question that I have for you is somewhat building upon what you already said, but if you could mention like 3 essential qualities that would help you succeed or would help someone succeed in graduate school.
I'm going to say passion. I'm going to say it's one. I think I've kind of talked about slowing down and thinking a lot. You need something to drive you through. It is a long time to be in school. You have to be really interested in what you're doing. You have to really like being in lab. Have this passion, I think, for science, for advancing our knowledge of the world around us, in order to keep on doing it. Otherwise, why be in a lab smelling all these solvents all the time, right? It's freezing one minute, it's sweltering the next. And that's, for me, that's part of the fun of it, but I think that's probably not it for everyone. So passion is definitely part of it. It's just, you have to love it. Definitely diligence. Just,
yes.
There's, I think you need to be have a lot of endurance. So being able to constantly work at it and being resilient in the face of the failures that you're going to encounter, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. You need a certain kind of resilience and just perseverance and all that. Because as you said, research is about learning along the way, and it's not about being perfect or it's just about progressing and just reaching to that broader goal and doing steps that can ultimately get you to that goal. But in between those steps, there are failures, and you need to really learn along the way how can you overcome those and just be one step closer to your broader goal. So yes, definitely those 2 qualities I think are very important for someone to be able to succeed in such a stressful in a bad and good way. yeah, because I think also stress serves as a driver sometimes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It motivates you to do better.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a misconception too that like people who are in grad school are so smart, so intelligent. It's easy for them. I think you need to be engaged and like constantly learning, but I don't think you need to like come into it like already having like a strong like fount of knowledge that you're already like PhD level, like ready like to figure out the next theory of relativity or whatever. It's about having that drive to continually learn, and you do need to be able to understand the material and do the work, but I think ingenuity is maybe less important than constant hard focused work.
Yeah, that could not be better said. Yeah, I think just have that willingness to learn and to continue to learn, and permit yourself to do that. Like, don't be so hard on yourself because you didn't know like this or you didn't explain that well. I can definitely talk from my experience. The first week it was like I needed to focus and I needed to say to myself, I need to teach this kind of chemistry to myself in a way that I can accurately explain it to not experts, but to people that already know something about this chemistry and already like the research is about that. So yeah, coming from like a psych major, and I don't know if I said I'm not a chemistry major, but I really enjoy chemistry and have like an appreciation of the sciences as well. So yeah, coming from that background and having, and obviously I took like organic chemistry and general chemistry, so I think that obviously helped me a lot. But yeah, coming from a psych major, I was like so scared because I didn't have that kind of like how do I say, like background knowledge or about the basics and all that. But yeah, it took me definitely being like determined and just like okay, be brave as well. Like you need to have courage and all that to be able to like confront this like new materials that you hadn't like experienced before or was not taught to you in like your courses and all that. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Yeah, with all that you said.
I would never have guessed you're a psych major.
No.
You are so astute. You always ask the right questions. I think that's very important.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to say, like, being with part of the buyers group and getting to know each and every one of you, and I just got like an appreciation of what you guys do each day in lab, and admiration for your discipline and determination and your willingness to continue and to do everything that you do in a day and in a week and all that, because you guys have a lot to do. Yeah, and you guys are like just succeeding at it in a way that says so much about you as a person and as a professional as well. So yeah, I appreciate you interviewing you today and learning about you and from you as well. So yeah, thank you for doing this interview with me, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me, Carolina. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
You too. Okay then, bye everyone.